Hi everyone, in this next lesson we're going to be taking a look one last time at my 3-finger rule. If you're just joining us, please check out the links in the description below. You'll find a playlist of this new series, Frequently Asked Questions from Private Lessons, where you can look at the lessons from before. And you can check out the link that is to my contact page if you would like to book a private lesson. Please just send me a note there and we can talk about times and dates. So following up from our last lesson, we're looking at how we can take the 3-finger rule and apply it to chromatics and soloing over All of Me. And we looked at this in the lower octave. Now we're going to circle back around and look at this within the higher octave. As a quick refresher for the last video and for those just joining, the whole idea with the 3-finger rule for chromatics and using that to create little solos is embellishing the triads and the melody notes that are associated with one another. So if we look at a tune like All of Me and we figured out the melody and we figured out the chords that are underneath it, we now can just do like a quick little practice of moving chromatically in to the chords and the melody from below or above. Now the easiest way to do this is to visualize a C major triad, for instance, and we see the C, G, E, and C, and we just want to lead in chromatically to each one with our fingers 3, 2, and 1. So we'll just go 3, 2, and 1, 3, 2, and 1, 3, 2, and 1, 3, 2, and 1, and then the other way. 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And the basic idea there is not necessarily worrying about what notes are in the key and what notes are out, but just as a way to transition between different notes in the triad and melody and connecting them, filling out the sound. So the other way to see chromatics is just connecting from point A to point B. So let's say I've got a melody that goes from my C note to my D note, and those are the 2 notes of emphasis. So if I want to bridge those, I'm going to put that C sharp or D flat in between the 2. And so from point A to point B, I now have a slightly more interesting way of connecting those notes other than just going from one note to the other. Now, if I want to do this across a larger space, maybe my 2 notes that I'm connecting the melody are A to D. So what I can do there is start at A and work up A sharp, B, and then I can shift up 3 fingers again, C, C sharp, D, to get that connecting. So now I have this long connected line. If I don't like the idea of moving 3 fingers at a time, I recommend leading with your finger that is closest to where you're going. So in this case, that would be your 3rd finger. So we're going to get to B and then keep sliding up with it. The same case when we go back down, but with our 1st finger. And that's typically a more kind of legato sound because you tend not to lift your hand or finger completely off the string as you do that. So that's kind of how I see chromatics. Really, 95% of the time, it's one of those 2 ways of either connecting notes in the triad or connecting notes in the melody and just embellishing them. So let's slowly go through All of Me. I'm going to go through each chord and just show you how we can play from either above or below into the triad notes. And then I'll play just a few times through just with that in a context of a solo, really trying to riff off the melody and the space that the melody leaves. And we can see just by doing that, without even really adding any blues or anything related to arpeggios, we can play some really nice solos and could last an entire night on the bandstand doing this. So if we take a C chord, I already did this one for you, but if we're approaching it, we could go. Now our next chord in the song is an E. So same thing, B, the G sharp, to the E, the octave. Our next chord is an A, or an A7, to the A, C sharp, to the E, to the A again. Then we have a D minor. I could go to the A, F, D, A, and then I head back to an E, and then I'm going to an A minor. I'm going to play like a C6 voicing. That's like an A minor voicing here. So I could go. Then we're to a D triad. And then to a D minor / G7. Right, so that's how I would just kind of practice that and visualizing those chords, leading in and leading out with that 3-finger note rule. And really what's going on there is harkening back to our first lesson in this series about anchoring our single notes to chords. If we don't see how the single note or the phrase of single notes relates to a chord, and we can't see how it's outlining it or embellishing the chord or ornamenting it, if it's like an extension or suspension, then we really don't know what we're doing. It's very nebulous. It's kind of more into the realm of like memorization and like scalular ideas rather than playing within the chord grips, which this style completely works out of. And if you're wanting to know how that works, check out some of those past videos in this lesson series, and I'll continue to talk about how that plays out too as we progress further in it. So now we come to the B section of the song, and we're going to play the back half of it because that's what's different. So we now come to the F chord. So I've got an F triad here. So I'm just going to go down to the C, maybe up to the A, up to the F, and down to the C again. And then I've got a C major 7 or E minor. It's typically how I'll play it. So I can just walk down to the B, to the G, maybe up to the E there. And then that walks down to a D minor. So I might go to the A, F, D, and then back to the G. And I just might go B, G, D, B. So pretty simple. Now, let's put that all in a solo. I'll play fairly slowly so you can follow right along, and I'll try and bring out the melody and then embellish it with these 3-fingered ideas. So here we go.